We are the nerds of a nation. We are the nerds of a nation. We are.
The Walking Dead, Issue 3.
Hello, once again, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, of course, am Jim, here to bring you another review on our recently started series, The Walking Dead. In our last issue, issue 2, it ended up with Rick, our main hero or character, Rick Grimes, meeting Glenn and narrowly escaping Atlanta. Glenn brings him back to the camp, the survivor camp that he's a part of. Rick was pretty bummed, thinking that his wife, Lori, and son, Carl, were dead, because, of course, Atlanta had been overrun, and that's where he presumed them to be. And at the end of the chapter, we were treated with a warm, heartfelt moment as Rick walked into the camp. Lori and Carl ran up, and they were reunited once again. So, just from what I've heard, what I've read, what I've seen for a few seasons in the show, there's not a ton of great touching moments like this, so we have to take them while we can get them. But so we'll dive right in here to issue 3. Issue 3 begins with Rick obviously still in the embrace of his wife and his son, talking with them. How did you get out? Lori immediately credits Shane and says, "Listen, if it wasn't for Shane, we wouldn't have even got here to begin with. He was able to get us out, and he was going to bring me to my parents' house, and when Atlanta was overrun, he stayed with us, protected us, and did everything that he could to keep us alive." So Rick and Shane have a brief exchange where he says, "Thank you, I can't repay you for what you've done." Shane says, "Hey, it's no big deal. I just wish I could have stopped you from getting shot." Rick says, "That wasn't your fault. I'm better now anyway," and the bromance starts back up. So Shane takes him around the camp and introduces him to a few of the different characters that we're going to meet. An older gentleman that stands watch with a rifle on top of the RV. His name is Dale, a character that I particularly like, at least in the TV show. Another guy by the name of Jim. So obviously I'm going to like him and be partial to him. And a lady by the name of Donna, Amy and Andrea, who are sisters, who are both sisters. And then there is Sophia and her mother Carol. Carl, which is Rick's son, and Sophia are going to kind of go off and play. They're told to stay close, and it's just, like I said, it's just kind of an introduction to everyone that you're going to meet in this camp over here. So Shane says, "Hey, listen, we've only got 2 guns in the camp. I've got my pistol and Dale's hunting rifle, but luckily we haven't been attacked by any more than 3 of these things at a time. For the most part, they leave us be. We keep on watch all the time." So anyway, later on that night, Rick is sitting talking with his wife and Lori, and she's put Carl to sleep and basically says, "We don't even really sleep anymore. Carl's terrified. You have to stay next to him." I mean, and who wouldn't? I mean, think about it. The whole world's been overrun by zombies and people coming back to life that are trying to eat you. So I could imagine a 8 or 10-year-old boy being terrified. So I mean, I'm a grown man, or at least play one here on TV, and I would be terrified. So anyway, Lori does kind of give him the rundown and says, "Listen, I'm sorry that we left you, but they told us that the hospital was being well protected. We were trying to get out," and Rick's saying, "Hey, listen, no, it's no big deal. You protected Carl, and that's the point. And any of you out there who are married or have kids, or when you do get married and have kids, you'll realize that it's not about you anymore. It's about making sure that you protect those children." So he absolutely understands what she did in getting out of there, and she again credits Shane and says, "Hey, we probably wouldn't have even made it this far if it wasn't for him. It's a few hundred miles and all the just chaos and destruction around." So, and then they figure out that the hospital must have been overrun or abandoned, probably less than a week after they had left. So she wasn't sure what had, come of him. There's obviously been no radio or cell phone communication, anything like that. So the next morning, Shane, Rick gets up early, and Shane greets him right away and says, "Hey, listen, there's a shower in Dale's RV. It's nothing great, just pond water, but it's better than nothing." So Rick goes in to take a shower, which is not of much consequence or worth mentioning. However, what is worth mentioning is that he runs into Dale and introduces himself, and Dale says, "Hey, listen, man, Shane's a good guy and everything. He's done a lot for this camp and all that, but just so you know, he's not happy that you're back, okay? He presumed you to be dead, and he has his eyes, and has had his eyes for as long as I've known him, on your wife. So this is kind of our first, little bit of a hint or clue. We don't know at this point whether it's true or not, but, it's kind of a... And Rick just dismisses it and says, no, he's a good friend of mine, and he was just, protecting my family for me, and he's kind of mumbles, crazy old man, so... After he gets done with his shower and he's all ready to go, him and Shane are going to go hunting. Obviously now Rick has some guns with him, and Shane had told him about only having the 2 in the camp, and it's hard as hell to hunt with a pistol. So Shane and Rick are going to go off on a little hunting expedition. Donna, who's like an older, plumper lady, and Andrea and Carol and Lori are going to go down and do some laundry down by the pond or whatever. Glenn has come back. He's kind of the runner, and Glenn has come back with toilet paper and detergent and candy bars and some of these things just to kind of keep everybody's spirits up. So the kids are going to stay back and play. Andrea and Amy, the sisters, are going to keep an eye on them. Apparently they're kind of useless and don't like doing laundry anyway, so Dale's going to keep watch, So everybody goes their separate ways, and Rick and Shane, while going through the woods and talking amongst themselves, they hear a rustling in the trees, and they wind up seeing a deer that's been killed and is being chomped on by a zombie, a glasses-wearing zombie, actually. Don't know if that's important or not, but it seemed important enough. So the zombie, though, doesn't even pay attention to him because he's eating, so you're starting to learn about their tendencies, their habits, those things at this point, I guess. It then goes and flashes back to a quick exchange down by with the clothes washing, the ladies down by the river, and they ask Lori how she met Rick. She explains, and I'm thinking this will probably be a little significant too, so I'll go into it real quick, that she was friends with Rick's younger brother, who was a couple years younger than him, because I guess Rick is clearly older than her. And she got invited to his house, Rick's brother's house, for a New Year's Eve party. Didn't even know Rick existed, and Rick got stuck. He was in college at the time, but he got stuck being the chaperone for the party because the parents were out somewhere at a different party. So she wound up meeting him, and then basically it was just kind of one of those, hey, I was lonely, and I was this wide-eyed, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed high school girl that kind of started to like this college guy, and they kept in touch with each other, and then things went from there, and now obviously they're married and have a child. So, and she does also say too that we're the most compatible people on earth for each other. So it's just a nice, warm, touching moment. But as they're heading back, and they have to kind of go through a little patch of woods from where this pond or this little lake is to get back into the encampment. There's some tall grass. A zombie kind of shambles up behind them, and they all turn and scatter, and the zombie, and Donna, the bigger one, she freezes, and the zombie comes right at her, and the guy that's on watch, Jim, up on top of the RV, and he's got the rifle, and he's, Donna, get out of the way, he can take this thing out, but he can't get a clear shot because she's frozen, she's in the way. So all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we just see a hand and an axe or a hatchet just lops this frickin' thing's head off, And it turns out it was Dale. Dale had been off chopping some firewood for the camp and had heard the commotion, came running, and was luckily there to, in time to save Donna's life, which she's very grateful for. So we also noticed that at this point, and this is significant, that the zombies, by decapitating them, that does nothing. I mean, it certainly it separates the head from the body, but the head was laying on the ground and it was still moving. Just real creepy, opening and closing its jaw. So it then flashes back real quick to Rick and Shane in the woods, and Rick goes and he's not going to wait for the zombie to attack him, even though he asks Shane, hey, have you ever seen one this close? And Shane says, yeah, but usually, they notice you quicker than this. So zombie kind of looks up and finally does notice him. Rick takes his signature hatchet and boom, puts it right between his eyes and stops him cold. So the point here being is that the difference of the two kills was that cutting the head off, the I don't know if the body, but the head still lives, smacking them right in the brain pan, putting it right through the skull, and obviously whatever brain function they have left, stopping that or severing that, that's the key to killing them. At least early on, that's what it seems like. That's my observation. Don't know if it's right or wrong, but, like I said, you put that down on paper because that's what I'm saying right here, right now. So if it's right 20, 30, 40 issues from now, I'll win some kind of prize, which will basically be nothing. So the chapter winds up ending shortly after that. Rick and Shane come tearing out of the woods because they hear a gunshot, back from the camp. And it turns out that Jim just wound up basically, shooting it in the head because it wouldn't stop moving, which we know too attracts them, and the gunshot probably echoes all around in the distance. So I don't know if that's going to wind up impacting them down the road, the next issue, or what. But all in all, pretty good character introduction and character building type of issue. Certainly Rick and Shane, there may be some tension there because at the end of the issue, Rick is like, Lori says what happened, and they came out of the woods, but they got away, and he's kind of like holding her, and you just see Shane with this sort of scowl off in the background on his face, like, oh, that's my girl, So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like I said, I certainly hope that we can bring some new readers into this series, or some that have, like me, viewed the television show and are curious about reading the books as well. I really don't have the time, the money, or the energy to go pick up each individual issue, but I have been picking up these wonderful hardcover books over here. I should actually be getting some kind of endorsement, but I don't. And they, they're nice. They collect a dozen issues, so a whole year's worth of issues in there. And like I said, that's how I'm going about it. So I can catch up and see what's going on and what differs and what paths diverge. So. Anyway, thanks a lot, Nation, for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.
Thank you once again, as always, brothers and sisters, for watching my videos. This is a little bit of a treat, kind of an Easter egg, I guess, for those of you that follow the One Piece reviews that I've been doing. This is a character drawing that I have been working on, comic book style, for Usopp, one of the characters we were just recently introduced in my reviews over there. So, hope you stayed long enough to see it.